The record for distance covered in 24 hours has been broken again. The evening was intense in the Vendée Globe. Between the 7 p.m. and 11 p.m. check-ins, the record has been broken several times. Nicolas Lunven, with 554.55 miles, then Charlie Dalin, with 558.82 miles, then Thomas Ruyant, with 571.59 miles, and finally Yoann Richomme, with 574.71 miles, or 1,063 kilometers, the equivalent of Les Sables to Lisbon, as the crow flies. This should continue for a good part of the night. Anthony Marchand, the French skipper of Arkéa Ultim 3, who completed his first solo round the world race last winter as part of the Arkéa Ultim Challenge and took part in the ocean race in 2023 aboard the Imoca Bio-therm, alongside Paul Meilhat, Davies, and Damien Seguin, gives his take on the current situation in the South Atlantic and more generally on this 10th edition of the Vendée Globe. This Sunday, the leaders of the Vendée Globe are catching a secondary depression north of Rio de Janeiro and are starting to fly downwind towards the Cape of Good Hope. We are talking about a quite unusual situation. Might we even say that it is rather exceptional? This small depression, which arrives at the right time, is not very violent, but it will have a nice shush effect. The leaders will take very direct routes. It is quite rare to have the opportunity to make such tight courses, so direct at this point in the globe. We can say that it is an almost perfect start to the Southern Hemisphere, for the leaders at least in any case. Anthony was asked, in your opinion, how many will succeed taking advantage of this depression and especially keeping on it? The first 10 or 12 will probably succeed in setting off on it, but not all of them will succeed in holding on to it for as long. The two leaders, Charlie Dalin, Massif Saint-Prévoyance, and Thomas Ruyant, Vulnerable, might end up being the only ones to ride it until the Cape of Good Hope. It will actually be decided by a few miles. So could we expect the fleet, which is already split in two, to split in three? Indeed, but it is not too disturbing because those who drop off it will then pick up wind ahead of another big depression. This will make them ride admittedly with a little delay on those who will have sped away with the first, but with good conditions, and therefore fast speeds. For the group in which we find most of the foiling boats, it will clearly be longer, but they will also still benefit from a fairly direct trajectory towards South Africa. In summary, the crossing of the South Atlantic should be done in good conditions, even if, of course, the elastic will tighten. So should we expect speed records, and in particular that of the 24-hour solo, and in monohulls, beaten successfully by Nicolas Lunven, Holcim, PRB, then Yoann Richomme, Paprec Arkéa, in recent days, to be relevant again? Clearly yes, and it is not impossible that several of them will knock it down one after the other. In this type of situation, a few miles apart laterally, the sea and wind conditions can be very different, and therefore more or less favorable. Everything will therefore depend on how each team is positioned in relation to the depression. Close to the center, the route will inevitably be more bumpy than 200 miles further north. In addition, there are these differences in hull shapes. Between boats like those of Thomas Ruyant or Yoann Richomme and that of Sam Goodchild, Vulnerable, which can go very fast but digs the bow in a lot, the situation will necessarily not be the same. In terms of performance, but also in terms of comfort on board. So we can expect that there will be one or even two gaps established between the first and last at the Cape of Good Hope. It is certain that in 8 days, there is a risk of a 2,000-mile gap between the leader of the foilers and the bulk of the pack made up of boats with daggerboards. However, nothing will be set in stone. It could very well come back from behind, as was the case during the last edition. On a round-the-world race, the elastic regularly stretches and then relaxes. We have seen it again in recent days. You competed in the ocean race aboard Bio-therm with Paul Meilhat, but also alongside Sam Davies and Damien Seguin. What is your opinion of their race so far? It's great to see them racing. They are in the running. They seem to have boats in good condition, but it's true that they haven't had any major fronts or complicated conditions since the start. This is also true for the entire fleet, which is something unheard of in a Vendée Globe, still almost complete after 2 weeks at sea. We will see how the rest goes. Before long, everyone will arrive in the Big South, where things are bound to happen. In the event of a problem, it will then become more complicated to repair or find shelter near a coast quickly. If one of the competitors has to stop his or her race, for one reason or another, there is the risk it will take a very long time to reach land. As an example, I am thinking of Loic Peyron, who in 2008 took 3 weeks to return to Australia, after his dismasting occurred 650 miles from the Kerguelen archipelago. In these parts, every problem quickly becomes a very big problem, and in this sense, it is sometimes better to break stuff earlier in the race if it is going to happen.
The 15 sunsets. Here, 5,000 kilometers is Cape Town. And behind the sails, there are more clouds. Can't see it from here. There's the front, a cold front. And I'm a little bit too far here on the windward side of the front. That's why we got lighter winds than the other side. And that's why I had to change the sail. So this is my job now, to finish packing that up. And we have the biggest sail up. We're still going decently, but it's definitely a sign of declining breeze, and you see it's very irregular, some dark patches on the water with wind, and then sometimes it's 12 to 17 knots, which is really the sign that we are on the edge of this wind system. Anyway, it's good fun to work around a little bit with the sails. By the way, I'm attached here, and yeah, we're still foiling. So now we'll pack the sail away, tie it to the rail, because later in the night the wind is supposed to trip right, and then we want to be on this smaller, faster sail again. Okay. Welcome to my house. You know, here is my little plant, and I could never figure out whether the spider is still hiding in there. Sometimes I see little spiderweb threads. I put a bit of music on for my next job after the sail change, which is cleaning up all the ropes. For an earlier job on deck, I was with swim shorts. That's Davies over soon. Swim shorts, can pack them away for 6 weeks or 8 weeks until we are back up in the Atlantic, back up here. So we are day 15, Sunday, 2 weeks after the start, and that's the day when we approximately have reached 18%, I think, more or less. So we're very early on in the race. Even if the others go, we want to stay strong and not let any mile, every mile counts, and we do our best. Keep doing our best. You guys keep doing your best at home during this week, the coming week. All the best, and never forget, there can always be a little surprise. Cheers.
Hello everyone, on day 13 from Toot Good, giving you guys a quick little update. It's still very hot here, but the good news is I think I left the doldrums behind me. I'm now sailing in quite a steady 13 to 14 knots southeasterly winds, so wind direction of about 110, 115, which is the wind that I should have for the next week or so. Also, if you look outside, I'm now sailing upwind, so quite a lot of heel. But there are no significant big clouds ahead of me anymore. So quite a clear sky, which is a good sign. And then through the back, I don't know if you can see this, outside my cockpit, there's the grey wall with all the clouds from the doldrums. So I'm quite confident that I've left this behind. And then position-wise, I'm quite happy as well. I managed to catch up with the group a little bit over the last 2 days. And now this kind of heading south on quite a close reach suits my boat. So I just keep doing what I'm doing, and then everything will be fine. Next up will be the equator. I will cross the equator somewhere tonight. Then there will be a little bit of rum for Neptune, for the boat, and for myself. But unfortunately, I'll be crossing it at night. So could have been better timing, but so be it. I'll take it anyway. I'll give you an update again soon. Cheers. Until then, bye bye.
Yay, ça bombarde. Bon, je pense qu'il y a de grandes chances que le record des 24 heures de Yoann tombe dans la journée. Je ne sais pas encore avec qui, quel bateau, mais ça va tomber plusieurs fois, c'est possible. On verra ça. En tout cas, le but là, c'est vraiment de garder la dépression le plus longtemps possible, le plus loin possible. Donc j'essaye de lâcher un peu les chevaux là en ce moment. J'ai vraiment l'impression de vivre un peu comme un petit animal. Sauf que la vie à bord des bateaux là qui vont là en ce moment je suis à 27, 28. Elle est pas simple, on se rend peut-être pas bien compte en vidéo, mais ça secoue pas mal. Voilà, le bateau est à l'aise dans ces conditions-là. En plus, j'ai réussi à bien dormir cette nuit tout en allant vite. Donc c'est bien, je suis content là, c'est cool. Voilà, la chasse au Charlie continue. À la plus.
Ça déboule ce matin à bord de MACSF. On avale les 1000. Bon dimanche à tous. Voilà. Bonne journée sur une Equator. Un joli coucher de soleil. Et ça avance bien. D'habitude. Bonne soirée à tous.